Oh, no.
Well,
You gotta start that all over again, Trav.
I have been muted
the whole
the
time.
entire time.
Cool. That's cool.
It's cool.
Uh-huh.
Don't give up.
We're here. We're back.
There is audio. Just wait for it.
Uh-huh.
We're still here. There's audio. Let us know when you can hear us. I'm going to start talking now because I think it's all on.
It's on.
Yay,
Yay.
it's on. So let me start all over again. I said some amazing things. I'm going to start all over again. So my name's Travis Garner, and I'm the lead pastor at the Village Church. And this...
Hi, I'm Amanda Garner.
And we are so glad that you can hear us now and that the audio is working. So we started this last week on Wednesday night, and we just kind of did a check-in and had some fun. And we've been having some conversation, as I know you all have as well, about what does it look like and what's it mean to live life when you sit at home. And there are some different elements of life that are happening at home. We're learning a lot of things, having a lot of conversation among ourselves and also with a lot of our friends. And she does look beautiful always. But we're having some good conversations around a lot of different topics, trying to figure out what it looks like to live life in the world that we're living in right now. And probably one of the number one topics that we keep coming back to is, I've already shown this, but you couldn't hear what I was saying, so we'll do it again. Drum roll, please.
Drum.
Or you did it like on the paper
Okay.
last time. Yeah. Here we go.
There you go.
Tonight's topic is marriage in quarantine.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. So here's what's happening. I actually saw an article this week from Jada Pinkett Smith saying...
Yeah, you did.
Because Jada and Will are pretty awesome. And Jada was saying she feels like she has met a new man now that they have been together all the time. So there are a lot of people
every day.
who are learning a lot of things about their significant other during a time like this when they're together. So I'm super, super excited tonight to have a good friend and fellow village person from our church, Jonathan Billingham, who is a licensed counselor, and he's going to be on here with us to help us talk and think through some things having to do with marriage and quarantine. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one, the only, Jonathan Billingham.
Jonathan, welcome.
Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
Hey, everybody. I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. I hope people can hear you because they couldn't hear us for like the first 3 minutes. But I think they can.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So good to see you. Glad that you're on here. So just some background on how we got here and why we asked Jonathan to do this. Jonathan and Grayson and their family have been part of our church since pretty much the very beginning when we started 4 years ago. And I learned that Jonathan was a licensed counselor, and I was doing a lot of premarital counseling. And so I asked Jonathan, just kind of in a moment of panic, I said, I need your help. Can you please help me? And Jonathan jumped in and started doing half-day premarital counseling workshops with us for engaged couples. And after the very first one, I just thought, oh my gosh, Amanda needs to hear this stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's what he said.
That's exactly what I said.
That's what you said. Yeah.
It is what I said. Amanda really needs to hear this. And so then I think it was 2 years ago in February, or was it last year? 1 or 2 years ago in February, you came and did a sermon on Sunday morning at our church about the kind of biological differences between men and women, and you tied it into the creation story. And I'm not jealous of this at all, but that's our number one ever downloaded sermon at the Village. So it's fine. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. I enjoy getting the royalty check.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Good stuff. You're welcome for that. So we want to talk some about marriage and what you're observing. But before that, maybe can you tell us a little bit about your family? And then we've just got a couple kind of fun questions we want to ask you as well.
Sure. Yeah. Just as an introduction again, as Travis said. And I just realized my camera went weird. You guys can still see me, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You look great.
You're kind of fuzzy in the background, but you look great up front. Yeah.
I forgot to tell you, Travis, you're beautiful too.
Thank you. I appreciate
that.
I
think so.
But yeah, we've been at the Village and have loved every second of it since we first did a kickoff. We moved to Nolensville from Murfreesboro.
Okay.
Almost 6 years ago. It's crazy it's been that long. And we spent the first year looking for a church, and we're excited to see a Facebook post about a church plant and jumped in and have been here ever since. For those that don't know me, I've been married to my wife Grayson for 20 years.
Awesome.
They've been a great 19 years. And somewhere in there have been a few spaces that we've grown and worked through, and those have been good too. And we have 3 kids, Emalea, Josh, and Addie. If you see redheads running around, there's a good chance that one of them is mine.
That's awesome.
At church. So, excited to be here.
Fantastic.
Thanks for letting me join.
Yeah, so glad you're here. So we've been talking on Sunday mornings about our current series is canceled until further notice. We've been talking about just a lot of the things that are canceled in real life. We're wondering, what is it that you're missing the most right now?
I thought a lot about this, and I think my answer is a little cliche, but I think we're all there, and it's just missing the non-virtual world.
Yeah.
As right now, we're looking at each other through a camera and talking through a camera, and everyone's joining us through a screen. And so the ability to just kind of be present with people is what I'm missing most.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Has anything been surprising to you, like in a good way?
Yes. Last week, Krispy Kreme had strawberry glazed donuts, and they honestly are better than the original glazed.
What?
I just don't know if I can agree with you on that.
Can you say that? Is that allowed?
No, it's blasphemy.
I said it. I have freedom in the spirit.
50% of the people watching just turned it off. No, that's not true. I don't think that's true.
Truth is hard to hear sometimes. I had key lime glazed donuts. They have a different one every week, and they were okay, but they were no strawberry. So I found that's good. Another thing I don't know that I would be surprising, but it's something that I've had to confront, and it is probably slightly more important than strawberry donuts, is I had to come to the acceptance that I was too busy before going into pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's given me the opportunity to step back, to reflect, what is most important in my life, invest as much time as I can in those things, and then hopefully develop a plan for once we come out of quarantine to keep those things in the forefront.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's dig in. We want to talk about, we're celebrating our 17th anniversary coming up on the 17th of May. 17 years on the 17th. So we really need to dig in to the topic of marriage. Mm-hmm. And so, we're
just going to do this live in front of everybody tonight.
Air it out. We're going to air it all out.
Let's do it.
The reality is, and you and I have talked about this some, Jonathan, that many people are used to spending the majority of their waking hours, if they're full-time working, really spending the majority of their waking hours away from home and away from their spouse or significant other. And so I'm curious what, I don't know, it's just like suddenly we're all together, we're learning a lot about each other, we're facing some things that we haven't faced before. I'm curious what your observations are about that, what thoughts you've had about that, what you've noticed in your own marriage, what could be helpful. Just sort of open it up in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to start from a very high view, the first thing that I would say is we need to give not only ourselves an opportunity, but also our partners and those around us an opportunity to know that we're all grieving right now. Now, some of us, I'm sure, have had people that have been impacted by COVID and may have lost loved ones, and that's a very different type of grief. But anytime we lose something, and in this case, a way of life, things that we may have taken for granted before, going to the grocery store whenever we wanted to, going to the gym, hanging out with friends, whatever it may be. We're having to grieve that.
Yeah.
And I think that's difficult for all of us. And sometimes when we're experiencing that internally or trying to avoid experiencing that, we forget that our spouse, our kids, people that we love, are experiencing that same grief of loss in something. And so I think that's a big piece of where we're at right now as a culture.
That's so good. And I think when we came into this, I had all these, I was thinking, I'm going to have extra time. And I remember sitting at the first week and I wrote down some goals. I was like, I'm going to power through this time. I'm going to get some stuff done. It's going to be like
There's nothing that's
really
going to be in our
amazing.
way.
Nothing's going to stop us. And I haven't
Then
done...
you turn to Netflix.
Yeah, I haven't done any of those things.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying is so important, that it's like there's that fog of grief that maybe a lot of us haven't named. That's really good. That's really important, I think.
Yeah. And then I would say the other big thing, when we've done our premarital, work and different things that we've done, is a lot of people aren't told this, and it kind of goes against what Disney tried to teach us as kids, but we were never, as spouses, we were never meant to fulfill all the needs of our partner. It's just not what is reality. And so part of that grieving process in the life that we've lost, without even realizing it, every day we went out to work, we hung out with people that, we feel close to, we did all of these things, and they were providing some form of validation, of worth, of acceptance to us, and we've lost that in many ways.
Are you trying to suggest that I'm inadequate?
That's definitely what he heard.
You said that, not me. But
but it's true.
But, when we're stuck in our homes, again, those old belief systems that, I'm going to find the one, I'm going to find that right person, and I'll live happily ever after. And all of a sudden we're in the same house with each other all the time, and we're not happily ever after. And it's easy, without thinking through it, to then begin to blame the other person. Why are we here? Why do I feel this way? Things like that. And so to take a step back and understand that part of what you lost was also things that fed your soul, fed your emotional well-being, your mental well-being as well. That we take for granted. We don't even realize it's doing that, but it is.
Yeah, I think we we've certainly felt that, and we are both raging extroverts.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're extroverts, and we feed off the energy of other people and getting to be with them, and the excitement of hearing their stories and being around them and sharing their lives, and that piece. Not that we can't have contact, but that physical piece of being with our people, our families and our friends, and new people, and the excitement of meeting people and being around just everybody has been ripped away. And we've discussed that it does feel like this layer of grief to not be able to do all the things.
Yeah, I get so much of my energy from people and being around people, and I hadn't even thought about this until the last couple of weeks, that so much of my rhythm and energy is based on our Sunday morning gatherings. And so, which is it's like the biggest group of people I'm around all week, but it sort of slingshots me into the week ahead. And we're now going on 9 weeks. I think this Sunday might be the 10th Sunday that we haven't had that. And so, then we're, I will say there's nobody I would rather be stuck with.
Thanks.
But yeah, it's really interesting to think about the fact that we're now looking to each other to play all of the roles of all of the people in our lives, and that's a challenge for sure.
When we're not on Facebook Live, I'll ask why you went with the word stuck instead of isolated. So,
okay. Isolated, that's a much better word. Isolated. You've been married 20 years, only 17, not even 17
so much to learn.
So
so much to learn still. Yeah.
We'll get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm now thankful that Grayson is not sitting beside me right now because
she would have so many things to tell us right now. We should have arranged that.
That's funny.
You'd see the side glance every now and then. I
know my eyes deceive me. I've noticed that. I'm trying to.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So what do you do with that? If
It's a great question.
yeah,
It is.
help,
He's going to charge us. He's going to charge us for this now.
Jonathan. What do we do with that?
Help us. Oh, she's watching.
Oh yeah,
Grayson is
Grayson.
watching.
Grayson just said she's watching, so that's good. Yeah.
You'll have to tell me what happens in the comments.
Yeah.
The first thing is to give you and your spouse space and grace to just accept that things aren't good right now. They're not. I shouldn't say they're not good. They're not what we are accustomed to, and we have lost things. We need to grieve, and we grieve in our own ways, and that may look very different, for your spouse. And so to start by, communicating, what do you need? What space or opportunity can I provide you to really just, work through this? Because as we said before, we've lost significant parts of our lives, and those parts did provide us esteem and value in ways that our spouse was never meant to do on their own. So the first thing is just acceptance for your whole family. And again, if there's kids involved, and there's a whole nother dynamic, they don't even, often know what they're feeling, and so we're just acting out. And I'm sure no one's experiencing that right now.
Not at our house.
Yeah. I would say that's the first thing. As I've kind of thought this through for myself, I know Travis, you and I talked a couple of days ago, and we were kind of talking about this, and resurrection, is in my mind the fundamental point in the purpose of our life in Christ. That's going to be the culmination where we end. There's this passage in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and I wrote this down to make sure that I actually had it right. But 15 verses 36 through 38 says, "What you sow does not come to life unless it dies. And as for what you sow, you are not sowing the body that will be, but only a seed, perhaps of wheat or another grain. But God gives it a body as he wants, and to each of the seeds its own body." And as you read through that, it talks about there is death. When you're sowing, you're planting the seed. In order for a plant to grow, the seed has to die. But out of that can come great things. And so take the opportunity as a couple that as you are grieving to look for new life together.
Yeah.
Thinking back to what you asked first, you said, what do you miss? And I said being with people. But as I thought about that, as I was saying it, I always loved being around people, but I realized I spent so much of my time when I was with other people, it was always in the back of my head where I have to be next, what my schedule is, what's going on, and I was never able to be fully present. And so my hope, as I'm looking for new life in this, and as Grayson and I look for new life in this, to ask, okay, the ability to be present has been so life-giving. How am I going to guard that?
Yeah. That's been
on
the
other side.
For us, it's family dinner every night, and I can't tell you the last time that's been the case for us.
Yeah, practices of all kinds, sports of all kinds. Yeah, just on the run. Most meetings. I mean, it's not just even the kids stuff; it's our stuff too. Like just a full schedule, always, and it's all filled with good things. It's not been bad things, but those are the things that we filled our time with have been valuable and connecting in a lot of ways. But being able to sit at home, cook together, clean up together, talk together, be together, hear about the kids' dates, then share what's on their mind, has been really great. So,
yeah, I mean, starting the morning, not stressed out and in a rush and yelling and late.
We're not late to something.
Like we've had many mornings where we're like, let's do a family devotional this morning.
Cool.
Which when have we ever done that?
We
in
have
the morning
plenty of time.
before?
It's good. Yeah.
So those are some really great things that we're finding in this, and even for us, this is silly. You mentioned this earlier, but yeah, we're watching some stuff on Netflix after the kids go to bed that we've never. Like, I can't tell. It's probably been 15 years.
We've been falling dead into sleep, like because we have to get up so early the next morning because our schedule is so crazy. So just to have that space, you said space and grace, and you were talking about that in the concept of grief, but I feel like that has been happening in the concept of life as well. You know, that we have space to give each other grace, even because we have space, we're able to be able to be present for each other in different ways, and to enjoy each other and our family in different ways. So,
yeah, I want to ask you about something, if that's okay. So I'll link this. I may do that now in a minute, but I'll link back to your sermon for anybody who's not heard it from the Village from last year. But you did some of the most masterful work in tying in the differences between the way the brains of men and women are wired,
the physiology,
and how the physiology of that, and how it ties into the creation story and all of that. But it also has a huge role in how we communicate. And I'm wondering, are there like, people need to go back and listen to that whole thing, but I wonder if there's like a snippet of that you would say is absolutely playing in right now in terms of communication or anything that could be causing conflict at home as we're isolated, not stuck.
We're not stuck.
As we're isolated together.
Yeah.
Are there pieces of that?
I'm sorry.
I love it.
Obviously it would take a while to go through all of that. But I think if I were going to sum it up, I would be to realize that we communicate out of what we want and what we value. And as men and women at our heart, we want and value very different things for ourselves. We experience those in different ways. Also to realize that as you're speaking English to each other, subtly, we are using the words very different.
Yeah.
But you're going to give and receive those words in the way that makes sense to you, and your spouse is going to give and receive those words in the way that makes sense to them. And so if you go back and you listen to that, for those that are watching, I don't really get royalties off of that, by the way. In case anyone didn't know about it.
It would be fun if you did, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but I didn't want this to turn into a sales pitch, because it's not. At the heart of the way that we're created and that we're made, men have a longing for accomplishment, to feel like they are successful. It's natural for us to think that, like in a business sense, or to go out, and hustle, make money sort of sense. But we even view our relationships that way, our hobbies that way. We want to know that we can be successful, be good at what we're doing. We get esteem from that. And when we're living in a time where, so many people are losing their jobs, are on unemployment, they're not able to go out and participate in the things that they would normally feel. It's natural for guys to feel like, I don't know how to control this situation. I don't feel like I'm enough, in that. And again, as I say all this, it's not picture perfect. There's a continuum there, and different people follow along with the continuum, but this is just generally what you're going to see. And for women in the same way, it's not so much focused on what they're able to do or provide, but just who they are as a being, and wanting to know that just presenting who they are alone, that there's value and that there's beauty in that. But again, because we speak things differently, men typically are wanting to talk about all the great things that their wives do, and women typically want to talk about how wonderful their husbands are, because that's what they long for. That's the languages we know. And so just understanding that your spouse needs something different. We obviously need love. We need encouragement in the same ways, but the way that is framed is very different, that reaches the soul of the other.
So what would I
could go
right?
No, as you know.
Help me
now.
What should I say to Amanda?
Hey,
you're-
you got your
you're-
phone? I'll text you.
No, yeah, text
Yeah.
me. I actually, when you do this talk, at the end of this segment, you usually put up a picture of a vase and a picture of a trophy,
Trophy.
and talk
Yep,
about
absolutely.
how at the end of every day, husbands, try to say something or do something like this. Wives try to say something or do something like this, and look for a way to do that every day. And what you're saying, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. What you're saying is, as a husband, and again, all on a continuum, but what I should focus on would be trying to affirm who Amanda is as a person. That
Yes.
really, in terms of hardwiring, that's more what she's longing for, and perhaps what I'm longing for would be to be valued for some kind of achievement or task or accomplishment. That's kind of the gist?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it doesn't mean do men like knowing that they are loved and appreciated for who they are? Yes. Another example I usually give in that is, occasionally the Spirit, works as you're going through Scripture and you tear up. But the one that gets me every time is where, in Revelation, where Jesus says that He's welcome into your kingdom. And what He says, the first thing He says is not, I love you. The first thing that He says is, well done, good and faithful servant. And for men, that just, that you sacrificed and you did what you had to do to show love, to be what you needed to be, to take care of those around you. And again, the same for, it was funny before you were talking about, Amanda, you were talking about the grace and the space to just be in life as well. And it was funny, as soon as you said that, I thought about when Jesus was with Mary and Martha, because you were talking about all those things that you used to do weren't bad.
Yeah.
And I immediately thought that, Jesus said, but she chose the better.
Dude,
He never said what Martha.
I always resonate
bad.
with Martha. Man, I'm like, Martha got the short end of the stick of that story, didn't she?
Yeah. And,
She's in there cooking. Nobody even appreciated her.
Jesus never had any problem saying, hey, what you guys are doing is wrong.
Yeah.
He never had a problem calling someone a brood of vipers or a fool if they were just like way out in left field and not aligned with what He was looking for. So He didn't tell Martha that.
Right.
He didn't say what she did was bad, but He did say Mary chose the better. And I wanted to remember that, and it tied in. Let me tie it back into what we were talking about first is, Mary was just in the presence of Jesus and being with Him, and that was enough for Jesus. He said that was the better. And so husbands, for your wives, just, whether it's her smile, the way that she mothers, her sense of humor, the little things about her that you just value and appreciate, and let her know that that's still there, is the first thing. But, when I was thinking about Mary and Martha, it did make me think about when we come out on the other side of this, that as couples, as individuals, but also couples and parents, we may have to make some hard choices. For those that did have all their children were involved in 3 extracurricular sports and all these activities, and you were taxing, you went from place to place to place to place. It's not bad, but we may learn from this time that there's something better, and we have to guard that.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah.
While we're doing it.
Yeah. There was something else you said a few minutes ago that I thought was really interesting about the wiring of men and women, and how for both of us that's cut off right now, for many in many ways. So the fact that men are wired for task and accomplishment, and women are wired for relationship and connection, and in a time like this, there's kind of a wall that's been put up on both of those things. So neither of us are really able to find that purpose or meaning in the same way, which then leaves us feeling depleted.
And you're stuck with a person who doesn't know how to speak your language.
Yeah, or isolated. I wouldn't say
Just
stuck.
isolated.
I wouldn't say stuck.
Yeah, we're safer. We're safe. We're safe together.
We are. Yeah. But I've got to think that plays in as well to just kind of both partner's feeling depleted, which then
Yes.
could potentially start this negative downward cycle in the relationship.
Yeah, no,
where it's like, man, I'm
you
not
know,
getting what I need anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm glad you said that to bring it around and clarify it. That's what I was talking about. There's all these things that we go out and do that bring value to us and make us feel better about ourselves. Whether it's, for those that are home working virtually, you used to go in the office, and you had people that would pat you on the back, say great job on that. Things like that help boost it up. Going to the gym, getting a good workout in. Really made you feel that way. Maybe it was going and having a cup of coffee with a friend and just having that time to be together, to bond together. All of those were like little, coins that you put in your piggy bank of esteem. And now, you have many fewer of those that are adding to that account. And that's where the grace that I was talking about comes in. We just have to understand, I feel this way, and the person sitting across from me was never meant to fill my bank.
Yeah.
They do put coins in, and they may be bigger coins than what other people put in, but it was never meant to fill it.
Yeah.
And that's where that grace and understanding comes in on that as well.
That's so good.
The one last thing, as far as just giving tools or things to be thinking about. One thing that we talk about at home, and Grayson does this with me, I do it with her. We talk about table goals, and so if you think of a table, there's 4 legs typically on a table, and those are things that we need to be feeding. And so while you have this, in the good sense, like you were saying, Amanda, space and grace, to figure out what is it that you need to have in your life relationally, physically, and just the way that you're taking care of your body, mentally and emotionally, and spiritually, to make sure that you're feeding all 4 areas of your life on a daily basis. Because even if you feed 3 of them but neglect one, if you think about a table, you have a shorter leg, and that makes it unstable.
Yeah.
You push on the wrong side, and it's all going to fall over.
Yeah, that's good.
And with that, we live in a culture that doesn't want you to do that right now. One passage that I think is used a lot, but I don't think used correctly, I hope that doesn't sound too arrogant, is in
Only a little.
Philippians.
It's not too arrogant.
Just a little.
Just arrogant enough.
love
I
you,
think it's good.
Jonathan.
I think it's the right amount. Yeah.
I'll pray for humility later. But
We'll pray for you as well.
Philippians. Yeah, thank you. For verse 6 and 7 gets used a lot, which says, "Do not worry about anything, but in everything, through prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus." And then most people drop it there. Okay? So if it says, "Do not worry about anything," and I were to look at the two of you and you say, "Hey, COVID, don't worry about that."
It's fine.
How does that go?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the example I always use is say, don't think about a blue striped zebra. Our brains aren't designed to not think. They're designed to think, which is the thing that I think gets left out of this is verse 8. And that it says, "Instead, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, lovely, commendable, if there is any moral excellence or anything praiseworthy, dwell," which means you have to live there in your mind.
Think on these things.
These are the things that you have to dwell on and think about. And what I love about these two things is if you do the first, if you just go to God in prayer and say, "I've been worried about this, I give this to you," it says the peace of God is going to be with you. But if you do the others, if you dwell in what is true, honorable, just, pure, lovely, it says the God of peace will be with you. So if you do one part of it, you get the peace of God. But if you fulfill it, you get the God of peace.
That's good stuff, Jonathan. Preach.
And so when everything in media is telling you, "Oh, here's the death rate. Here's how many are affected. Wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. Wear this kind of mask. Don't wear that kind of mask. Everyone wear a mask." it's easy to get sucked into that. But as a couple, to encourage each other and to hold each other accountable, to say we need to be notified of what's going on, but we're going to limit the amount of information we're taking in each day. And instead, we're going to dwell with each other in these other things that are good, that are pure, that are honorable, all of that. It says if we do that long enough, that it will also strengthen our relationship with God, that He will be closer to us, because in doing that, we're drawing ourselves closer to Him. So that's the one thing I wanted to make sure that we got in as well, that limit the things in your life that are going to bring you anxiety right now, because there's enough of them.
Right.
But in order to limit anxiety, you really do have to intentionally live in your mind in what is good, true, and all those other things.
Yeah. I want to give you a chance to say some last thoughts, but before that, we want to take any questions that people might have. I know there's some people who are watching, and some just hopping on, but some who've been with us the whole time. So I've got the comment thread up here, and am curious if there are any questions that anybody has for Jonathan, because Amanda and I certainly can't
We're
answer.
still learning, guys.
We can't answer anything,
We're
but
not
Jonathan
experts.
is here, so we
He
feel
gets
like
paid for this.
we need to
Not
take
this specifically.
we need
but
to take full advantage of this. Also, I do want to say that Jonathan has a teletherapy practice available and is able to meet with people. And so, if there's something that you would want to talk about, or just be able to dive a little more deeply into that with Jonathan, individually or as a couple, you can email Jonathan, and I'll link this as well. But Jonathan@BillinghamTherapy.com, is that right?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
Jonathan, Jonathan @BillinghamTherapy.com. You can email there, and then did you want to share your number as well, which I can also put in the comments?
I wish I had that number memorized. Yes,
That's
give me
okay.
1 second.
We'll put it in the comments. Don't worry about it. We'll put it in the comments for you later.
It is, no, I got it. 615-807-0779.
Okay, awesome. So
is my practice phone number. Yep.
So you can email Jonathan @BillinghamTherapy.com. Call that number. We'll put both in the comments. And I know he would love to be able to be helpful to you and provide any resources. So I want to see, I'm looking at the comments. We usually have a little bit of a delay, but again, just see if there are any comments, any thoughts, any questions, any other topics that anyone, any topic at all. No, specifically to marriage in quarantine, particularly any topics or comments. So I'll give people a second on that. Jonathan, is there anything else that you feel like you want to share with us? Kind of parting words.
Yeah, this sucks. Not this, but just
this is a great conversation.
Where we're in. Yeah, and that's okay. It's okay to be there. Whether we like to admit it or not, we live in an affluent community where we're used to putting on a face. We're used to keeping up with the Joneses. Yeah. We're not used to this, but it's okay to admit and not feel like you have to put on that face and just say, you know what? I did have a long list of things that I wanted to do, and I didn't do them, but I got through today, and that's okay. But as you're giving yourself that grace, give it to your spouse too. Yeah, they need it. And stay off the 411 on Facebook. That's just a general rule.
General rule in life. Probably stay off of the Facebook as much as possible right now. So, do you have anything else? Thoughts, questions?
I don't think so. I can't stop thinking about that blue striped zebra now. Like, it's just in my head.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that.
So no comments from Grayson then. That's good.
That is good. Yet. So far, so good. Heather has said, we are really trying to just not live on autopilot some days. Mm-hmm. And that's tough to
on that, though, I think that's where the grace comes in. In my line of work, and I know a lot of people heard about this, in school and as you go through. But when you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, The first two needs are safety and security and just getting your physical needs met. And in times where you're going to the grocery store and some of the things that you need aren't there, and you're basically told there's a risk of you catching something that could kill you every time you walk out the door, autopilot is just getting those physical needs met. And so it is good to try to push through that into the image of God and the things that we're here for, which is more than those. But that's where that grace comes in. We're in a different point where we're just focused on our basic needs in life right now. And so if you get the end of the day and you realize, I kind of felt like I was in autopilot all day, that's okay. But that being said, if you feel like that every day, you feel like you're down, you don't have energy, things like that, that's why, whether it's me or anyone else in our profession or here, there's ways that we can get you help through that. But
that's really helpful. Are there
red flags?
Red flags, warning signs, things that you would...
I'll say, I think at our house, we're seeing a lot of, we have days that are, we are doing pretty great. I'm we've got a schedule down. Everybody's kind of figuring it out. The online learning is going great. We might have, everybody's taken a family bike ride. We've done something creative. We've had a great day. And then there's days that, everybody's kind of grumpy. Travis and I are both trying to get the work done. Things are not happening the way they're supposed to be happening. So we're kind of riding these waves, and we are allowing each other some grace and space. And there's times where that's not as pretty as other times. We're kind of in this, fluctuating business, but what are the red flags for when we know that this is not just a normal up and down, that hey man, we really need to step into asking somebody to walk alongside us for a minute to help us get back on track, to help us see things that we can't see ourselves?
That's a great question. And I would say the first, Grayson and I and our family have gone through that same thing. There's some days where we're knocking it out of the park. There's other days you get to the end of the day, it's well, we made it.
Here we are.
I guess we'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
Good night.
Always tomorrow.
Good night, children.
Yeah, and that's okay. I would say as long as you're seeing those ups and downs in a time like this, then that means you're at a good spot. If it feels like every day, at the end of the day, you're down, that's some things that you need to be looking for. If you get to a point where you just don't feel like you have any motivation, and that goes on for several days in a row, and by several days, we're really looking at a couple of weeks there, but you're starting to feel like there's no hope, you can't see a future out of this, you feel helpless, that you don't have the ability to do anything to get yourself out of it, those are some things that you need to be looking for. Find yourself difficult getting out of bed every day, where you just can't make that happen. You find yourself eating more or less over long periods of time, where you have, significant weight gain or loss. Those are all kinds of signs that you can see that, there's probably something more going on. As part of a church, I think it's also important for me to say this, that I can't spend, this is another topic I could spend hours on that I won't. But particularly in the Western church and the American church, there's been this stigma that if you experience anxiety, that if you experience depression or things like that, it's somehow related to your faith.
Nice.
I had a friend of mine the other day that was saying, we're supposed to be like Jesus, and he never experienced anxiety. And I said, you've read the passage the night before he went to the cross, right? And to realize, well, now he didn't sin. That's what we believe in that anxiety. But experiencing that grief, I mean, the hope that we have in following Jesus is that he has experienced all the things that we experience. And so, there's grace in that. But, we are very complex beings, and our physical being, our spiritual being, and our mental and emotional being, as much as we like to put them up, like I say, legs of a table, that kind of separates them out, but they're really all intertwined. And, those are things that can be worked through. And so don't let that be like a blow that, I'm not following God the way I need to, or there's something wrong with my faith. I think about Paul. He said that, there was 3 times that he prayed for God to remove the thorn in his flesh from him. We don't know what that was. but there was something that held him back and that he didn't like being a part of his life that he thought made him lesser.
Yeah.
And God finally responded to him in the spirit, and he said, I'm not going to take it away, and I will be made strong through your weakness. And so just if you are in those places, know that there's people out there that care, that love you, that you can get back to a better spot.
Absolutely. I checked on a friend yesterday who said back to me, I'm not broken. And I responded back, we're all broken. I mean, that's the story
Absolutely.
of our faith. We are, every last one of us is broken and experience brokenness. And that's our story. If we weren't broken, we would have no need for a savior. And so, that's absolutely part of our story. Just a couple comments that have come in. Megan just said, yes, I was hoping that a few super grouchy, annoying days are normal. So I think you've normalized that for everybody.
You've affirmed that we're okay to be okay.
Absolutely normal.
Yeah.
Philip said this. I think this is really good. He said, this is really a chance to go and to be there for those who are sharing the suffering but not handling it very well. And I think that's also a big part of what it means to be a church, is that we're there for each other, and there are going to be days when I need help, and there are going to be days when I can offer help. And that's what it means to be church together and to be community for each other. So I think that's really great, Philip.
I also think that helps so much with perspective of kind of getting you out of yourself. Not to say that there are not times when you absolutely need help, but there are also times when you can just turn the focus from yourself for a minute and gain a little perspective about the world around you and what other people are also going through, and that helps kind of lift you out of those moments. It does for me, at least.
It's funny you say that. When we first went into this, within the first few days, obviously we're all grieving. It's been a while, but first few days, like someone even mentioned to me, it seems like you have more energy. Like, what's going on? And it's like, this life is easy. In our world, particularly where we live, where everyone we know looks like they have everything that they could possibly need and most things that they want, it's hard to know how to love people. All of a sudden, when you have something like this, it's the great equalizer, and to look out and know, hey, my friend doesn't have a roll of toilet paper and I've got an extra one.
Help.
It becomes an easy way to know how to love that person and show that they're important. So to look for those opportunities is a good thing.
That's good.
Awesome. Well, dude, you're so awesome. This has been so great.
Thanks
so
for being with us tonight.
Y'all are awesome.
Giving up some time to do this.
And it's funny you said that. I always try to make a point of saying this is my vocation. This is what I do for a living, but I don't have it all figured out either.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, the process of what I do in my work is sometimes even figuring out together. Now I do have the educational background and a lot of knowledge and tools that, we can give to help people to get to a better spot. But we're all walking the same path together, and we're going to get through it together. Yeah. So, you guys are awesome, too. Thanks for the opportunity, and it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Really, really good to see you. Hope we can see each other in person soon.
Yes, me too.
All right, man. Appreciate you so much. We'll see you soon.
All right. Stay safe. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks.
So great to be able to talk to Jonathan. So great to have you all on here. I noticed Dan made a comment a few minutes ago about kids and trying to manage that and juggle that, and that's absolutely a topic that we've been talking about and talking about coming back on a Wednesday and having a conversation specifically about kids and family and parenting and that kind of thing as well. So you can look for that. Anything else?
No, you did great.
Anything else? You did great.
Thanks.
Yeah, we want to pray for you, and then we'll log off for the night. So let's pray. God, we love you. We love Jonathan. We're so thankful for him. God, I pray right now that not only would you give us an overwhelming sense of peace, but like Jonathan talked about, that we would be able to experience fully you as the God of peace with us in our lives, walking with us and beside us and in front of us and surrounding us with your love. So I pray tonight for anxious hearts, for troubled relationships, for people who are struggling, just an overwhelming sense of your grace to be at work in us and through us. So God, we thank you for Jesus who makes all of this possible. It's in his name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. We love you all so much. Can't wait to see you soon. Have a great night.
Bye, friends.
Bye.